What Ike Allen and Andy Anderson have created at Avaya is what the world needs.
Hello, Avaya family. I am 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗓 Starr, Online Education Coordinator for Avaya. Avaya is the creator of over 1,000 books, films, courses, teachings, and other supportive resources. Thank you so much for joining us. Our fellow teacher, Sarah Becker, is with us today to talk about how to regulate your nervous system and activate the vagus nerve for lasting transformation. Sarah Becker, DPT, it has over a decade of experience using hands-on techniques to tap into the body's own healing ability. And throughout her career, she has dedicated herself to neurorehabilitation, spending countless hours helping patients recover from life-altering events like strokes, traumatic brain injuries, and spinal cord injuries. Welcome to Avaya, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'm so ready to learn some more about the nervous system and the vagus nerve and all of those sorts of things. So, just to get us started, could you tell us a little bit about you and your journey? What essentially inspired you and or led you to work with the nervous system and vagus nerve health?
So essentially I was looking for kind of something new. And I was doing a technique where it was my first exposure to witnessing emotional and traumatic releases. It was just crazy, like what I could feel and what the patient would feel in their body. It's just crazy stories. I feel like I wouldn't have believed this years ago. And so then I started looking more into the nervous system, and some people just weren't getting better or actually feeling worse after therapy. And now I know I don't think their body was ready for healing. And so with my work with neuro rehab, to me, the brain just it mostly makes sense. Some of it's still a little confusing, but it just kind of speaks to me. I just always can figure out how the brain is programming. So being able to tap into that, and then being able to kind of enhance. Basically, I'm improving the vagus nerve signal.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah, thank you for just giving us a little bit of background into why you do what you do.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to just loop back real quick to something you mentioned. You shared that some people, perhaps their body actually wasn't ready for healing.
Mhm.
Could you tell us what you mean by that? Or, yeah,
Yeah.
just essentially, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I'll give an example of a patient. So she is one of my best examples. So after her first session with me, I always check in, and she said she felt like she got beat up in a back alley after working with me. And I was like, oh. So when she came back, thank goodness she came back. We I kind of talked to her more. She had been through so much treatment. It wasn't just physical therapy. It was, chiro, visceral, craniosacral, Reiki. She's done all the things. So now that I've worked with her for several times, essentially, she's like, what the difference between me and all those other people was she felt safe with what I was doing. The way like she would give me feedback and I would take that and then like let that guide me. But I mostly let her body guide me, like where I'm feeling, where she needs it most. And so she said that was like very impactful. And essentially, I always say that it makes sense because if your body is chronically stressed, which I argue that basically all of us are, like healing is just kind of secondary. Like the body's just trying to keep you from essentially like major shutdown. So that's priority, right? Like of course it sounds good to like heal, but your brain is going to do what it needs to do to essentially keep you alive. So that's not really that important if we're that chronically stressed.
Yeah. Yeah, stress is such a big thing for so many of
Yeah.
us. So yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, hearing about that little example you shared with us. And yeah, a lot of people we hear or perhaps even talk about this concept of nervous system dysregulation, but at the same time, many of us don't actually understand what that means or what that feels like, looks like. So could you give us a little bit more information about how you would explain what nervous system dysregulation means and what are some signs that people might be missing?
Yeah, that's like a perfect transition with the talking about that last patient too. So your brain and nervous system don't know the difference between being chased by a lion or you're just stressed at work, you're in traffic. So any stressor, your brain and body do the same exact thing it needs to do to outrun a lion. So I always like to come back to that because when we give it that extreme, it kind of makes more sense. So your body prioritizes things like certain health processes for when you're not being run or when you're not running from the lion. So like filtering your spleen is something that your body does in rest, in true rest. So your spleen filters red and white blood cells, and if they are not filtered regularly, this is what causes autoimmune diseases. So and right like is filtering my spleen that important if there's a lion running running after me? Probably not. So imagine that and all the stressors of today's world. Um, our nervous systems were never meant to handle this much stress. I actually removed my smartwatch because it's just the constant notification of something. So which is funny because like I didn't like the EMFs, whatever, like everything else, but really it's the constant input that we're having to filter through. So a regulated nervous system is able to very efficiently and like wax and wane between fight and flight or rest and digest. So like playing sports is a good example. You kind of have to like, right, you do have to rest at times, but then you have to be ready to mobilize, like I'm thinking of like a soccer player or something. So if your nervous system is easily able to switch between the two modes, like you're essentially what I call like resilient in life. So some signs I think that people maybe overlook. So any sign of gut dysfunction, like including diarrhea, constipation. I say that because if you asked me if I had gut issues, I'd always say no. But I had my gallbladder removed while I was in PT school, and just the formation of a gallstone basically says your nervous system is not functioning properly. Cardiovascular issues, everyone looks at the heart and lungs, but the vagus nerve has a hand in how it's beating, the rate of your breathing. So that's often overlooked. Fainting, I saw this a lot working with my patient population. A lot of times, people will have this fainting spell and they do the whole cardiac workup, like the stress test and the EKG and all that stuff, and it's always inconclusive. So not a lot of clinicians know. I'm hearing more and more people talk about it now, but it's essentially the vagus nerve couldn't handle whatever stress was happening at that time. So I always think of like an animal that's being attacked. Some of them will literally play dead so that they can survive. So essentially, fainting for us is like our playing dead. So your body was literally like, this is too much to handle. Let's just shut everything down. And so like difficulty breathing is a big one as well. Cause I feel like people are like, I breathe okay, but like sometimes taking a deep breath, like I always hated the breath work because it was so difficult for me to take. Like I was like, it's not relaxing. Because physically my body couldn't do it. Emotions and behavior, that's kind of what made the vagus nerve like kind of more in mainstream, I guess you would say. So like anyone who's easily triggered, which, I feel like we're seeing more just in today's society. I was reading something that's exactly why our nervous systems are so dysregulated that, one comment on Facebook is enough for us to sense it as an attack. So interestingly enough, like it can also help decrease triggers. I actually had, I think she was a manager. So she came to me for one session, and this was like my hands-on session, where I'm like, it feels like a massage to you. And so she was like, I'm just mad. Like people at work bother her. And she's like, I can't even like handle or like deal with what they're asking me. So she texted me the next day and she's like, oh my God, I just feel like I have way more energy and I'm way less irritable. So it's interesting how like people often forget the physical aspects, how it relates to emotions, right? You're just feeling better. Some people actually, I feel like I've had so many people tell me they're not in fight or flight. So fight, flight, freeze and fawn are also part of that. So a lot of people are in what we call like a functional freeze, where you're just numb to everything. Like you kind of like dissociate like anything that's like I have a family member, like anything that's conflict, it's like, okay, we won't even go there. You know what I mean? We just kind of like don't even handle it because we can't emotionally. And then fawn is people pleasing. So I am very much a people pleaser. So this is interesting. It's your nervous system avoiding conflict, right? Because you can't handle. So you're just being agreeable. So things that you never thought would be tied to, you know, one nerve. Whole body pain. So those are like physical symptoms. Anytime, so I treat pain in person. But if somebody says I have pain everywhere, the first place I go is the vagus nerve. Difficulty swallowing. So also it controls your vocal cords. So swallowing difficulty and sound production. So I actually took singing lessons as a kid, and I always think I'm like, oh, I wish my voice teacher could hear me. I mean, just singing in the car, but it really does it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like more easier for me to like produce sound out of my voice. So, I mean, pretty much everything, like the nervous system has a hand in so many things.
Yeah, really interesting to hear
Yeah.
about how many, yeah, you shared so many different things and signs that I would imagine a lot of people, yeah, aren't necessarily connecting in any way
Yeah.
to their nervous system or thinking that there's a relationship there. And it sounds like, once again, so much of this comes back to stress and stressors in our everyday lives. And before we talk about our body's healing potential, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about stress and ask you, like, is the idea to get rid of stress, or are we just learning to manage it better? Like, what do we do about stress?
That's a fantastic question. Yeah. So essentially it's managing stress because we kind of need stress for it signals to our body that something's wrong. So we do it's I don't know. I have a hard time saying it's healthy, but it's kind of what your body needs to do. But being able to um, like essentially like be in conflict without thinking that you're being chased by a lion, or like being in traffic. Like I feel like that's like one of the greatest examples because when we're driving so much. Because now I don't commute as far as I did, and when I do, I'm like, oh my God, it's so stressful. To just drive because you have to be defensive. Which again, it's like my body is like thinking that it's like there's some like imminent danger, you know? So being able to see things that are stressful, but not life-threatening stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I get what you're saying there by saying, like, not per se saying it's healthy, but there are times where stress can be actually useful or important to
Yes.
our lives. So yeah, I could see how not getting rid of it in total, but learning to manage it and not let it affect us or overwhelm us as intensely. And yeah, I know another big piece of your work is you just talk a lot about the body's innate healing potential and
Mhm.
how the body is really powerful in our healing as a whole. And so, could you tell us just some practical, accessible ways that people can begin to regulate their nervous system, even right now, especially through the vagus nerve activation?
Yeah. So anything that stretches your abdomen. So yoga has a couple postures. So like anything that's twisting, our abdomen actually, um, I think the physical aspect of it is overlooked. I've helped someone with chronic constipation because I literally just helped the small intestine move her bowels through. And that's all it was. You know what I mean? She just has to help it a little bit more. So anything that stretches the abdomen, like back bends or twisting, anything that stimulates vocal cords, so humming, gurgling. They also say that that's why the sound that that people use in yoga. That's it. The way it vibrates your vocal cords, it stimulates your vagus nerve. Ear pulls is a big one. So you literally are just pulling down on your ears. It's surprising how many people have tight ears. I actually, when I started this, I was like, oh, I don't really want to touch people's ears. But it can cause like headaches. Like some people's ears almost feel like they're glued to their head. Which if we think if there's like one spot that's stuck, then everything else around it has to move excessively to make up for its lack of motion. Or like even I've had people with sinus issues. The ear's very close to a few jaw muscles. So anyone who has like TMJ or grinding, that can possibly help. Another one that can help is tongue stretches. So literally just sticking out your tongue. There are so many sensory nerve endings that play with the vagus nerve. It's also so we forget how big the tongue is because we don't see the full tongue usually. So it's really deep in your throat, and the vagus nerve comes down this way. So if my tongue is anytime like a muscle is tight, right? If it's tight, it's literally compressing on the vagus nerve, and then the signal can't get through accurately. Um, 528 hertz. I actually have a list on Spotify. It's free on my website. That frequency is very good for your vagus nerve. I have a friend who's a PT, so she listens to my playlist at the end of the day while she's documenting, and it's just made like she literally can feel that she's not, in this like stress mode, like I need to finish and go home. So that's an easy one. Palming is one of my personal favorites. So palming, you literally just take the palms of your hands and you place them on top of your eyelids, and you can do this in any way you want, but it basically puts your eye muscles on slack, and so which they never get. They're always being used. I mean, even when we sleep, they don't get that much tension decrease. It's also like a sensory overload, like decreasing sensory overload. When I worked in the hospital and I was learning this, I would literally just sit in my car afterwards before I drove home because it was like one stressful event to the other. So being able to bring that stressful event and take it to like a normal, you know what I mean, setting. Because right now we're just stress, stress, stress. So like it just keeps building to the point where you have, the adverse reactions like fainting, anxiety, and all of those things. So those are just a few. I have a ton of other ones, but I don't want to take up all the time.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you for sharing some of those, especially like very practical. A lot of these are things we can do really at any time if we're feeling the need
Yeah.
for that regulation and calming down a little bit. And yeah, I had never heard of the ear one. That's really interesting. Now I'm like, oh my goodness, how
Yeah.
do my
It's
ears
actually,
feeling?
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot to mention that it's like traditional Chinese medicine. There's a ton of like acupressure points in your ears. I'm actually doing a course that's taking me quite a long time to get through, because it's like even just down to the anatomy of the ear, like it's insane how many. I don't even know how many there are, but that's why it's just such a heavy meridian, you know what I mean, like center. So yeah, the ears are often overlooked, but very much so needed.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'd imagine it's very overlooked and it doesn't seem to, at least in Western culture, be
Yeah,
talked about a lot. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And
super.
I actually had a patient the other day. She goes, "Why does that feel so good?" I was like, "I know." It's like because I have to warn people, like I'm going to pull off your
Pull on your
ears.
ears.
Yeah, and then people are like, "Okay, it's fine," and like I feel like some people get it, and then some people are like, "Oh my God, that feels so good." So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's yeah, super interesting to hear. Also, you mentioned the tongue, which I think I've heard of that as well before,
yeah.
but yeah, just all these things that we're likely not thinking of that could actually make an impact if we explore some of those little stretches.
Yeah, and super easy, right? Like nothing
Yeah,
like, there
nothing,
are
nothing.
complicated ones, but like most of them are easy.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I always love a practical strategy for exploring. And is there anything else you'd like to share with us, or any other techniques or tools you use, whether in person or in your programs, that help people move from that state of chronic stress and pain to healing and resilience?
Yeah, so a couple things I'm in Tempe, Arizona, so I do hands-on. It feels like a massage to people, but I'm literally I work on the dura mater, so that's connective tissue that surrounds your brain down to your tailbone. So that is often tight, and so that can dampen how our entire nervous system reacts. So like it feels like a back massage to you. I'm doing physical therapy techniques as well. So some manipulation, some mobilizations, but it's all super calming, and literally massaging the belly. So anywhere, so the reason is anywhere that the vagus nerve can get compressed, or like the vagus nerve actually comes through. There's literally like a hole in your skull that it passes through. So it passes through with the carotid and vertebral arteries. And so those structures are pretty big. So like the hole's only so big. So if those structures are like larger, then it's going to cramp on, right? It only has so much space to move. So like sometimes I'll do like in the mouth, like jaw movement, to open up that space for people. A lot of people have tight necks. So one of our tightest muscles is the 𝗠𝗢𝗪𝗡𝗠 and the vagus nerve literally runs alongside it. So people are just pressing on their vagus nerves all day. So getting that to relax, it's just super fun. So like, yeah, so that's like my in-person. I can do virtual as well. So I walk people through how to improve the vagus nerve signal, and then it's more tailored to you, because people are like, oh, I don't, because some of these things people might not like, their nervous system doesn't like it. And so I can tailor that to, how does that feel, or we just kind of track it. And then I recently just launched my vagus nerve course. So I run workshops kind of regularly in Arizona. And so the workshops, it's like a yoga class kind of. And so I guide people through all these movements. And a lot of people are like, the workshop is great, but like, I don't remember what to do at home on my own. So people basically wanted my full access of my exercise library. And so my course, my highest, there's 3 different tiers. So the highest tier has basically everything that I could think of. I actually still need to add more. And then I'm always coming up with ways, just kind of blending my like physical therapy and exercise background with the principles of the vagus nerve. So you'll get like kind of not regular, but basically I'll upload exercises as I'm able to, and as I discover them. So that's like a pre-recorded like self-paced course. And then I also am doing one-on-one nervous system coaching, because in the end, right, everyone's nervous system is different. So, so you and I would be texting daily. So I check in with you daily, via text or email. And then weekly, we do a 60-minute, either we chat for 60 minutes, or I can literally do like a vagus nerve session with you as well, like if that's what you need. And then, in between the time that you're not talking to me, then I'm just going through like tailoring everything to you. Like if there's a movement that you don't like, then we take it out, or if there's one that's really good, we build off of that. And really just how it applies to life, right? Because everyone's stress level is different, and what they're stressed about is so different. So that's what I love about the coaching program, is being able to, like, if you're a new mom, it's like, okay, let's talk about that, and like what about it is stressing you out, you know what I mean, and ways that you can build these things in while still taking care of your newborn. So
Yeah, I love that. I love what you mentioned just now about how this is unique to everyone and what they're experiencing in their own life, and how there's ways to find help around that and around the specific issues that we're experiencing, or around the specific stressors that we have in our everyday lives. So that's always exciting to hear, that it can be this unique
yeah.
experience. So then, for anyone listening today who's perhaps feeling really stuck and overwhelmed, or even feeling like nothing that they have tried is really working for them, what would you say to anyone feeling that way, or what would you want them to know about the power of the nervous system?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on it earlier. Essentially, your body needs to feel safe before it can begin to heal. So it cares about the lion that's chasing you. So if we can't get that to calm down, then the body's just not really ready to heal, because it needs to prioritize handling the current stressors of at that time. So I mean, literally, that's what I love about it, and what I tell people is like, I literally tap into how you heal, how your body can heal, where I feel like, I always tell people I'm not really like a Reiki energy person, but when my hands are on someone's body, it's so interesting how, like, I can almost tell when a tissue has history, or there's like scar tissue, or it's been like, this is new or this is not. I can feel where the inflammation is. So like I said, I just go in and release all the spots that the vagus nerve can get caught. And I also can work on other nerves that are in your brain to help essentially decrease the threat of everyday life. So every day I am helping people heal from diagnoses and disorders that I was taught not possible in my doctoral program.
Awesome. That's so beautiful to hear and inspiring and exciting. And yeah, just making sure, I think anyone listening today, what you said about safety and learning how to find that safety within ourselves and to really begin healing is just super awesome to hear that it's possible and there's tools out there to help us along the way. So yes. And then are there any final insights that you would like to share before we wrap up, Sarah?
No, I guess yes. Um, I, I just look forward to working with people. This work is so rewarding to me. And I would help people through surviving, car crashes. And, I love that I'm able to tap in this way to people. And I just, the one thing you'll always get from me is passion, and I need to figure out what's going to work best for you. So that is just my absolute lifelong passion, and I would love to work with you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us at Avaya today, sharing your wisdom with us. And yeah, it was just wonderful learning from you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I also want to thank our Avaya students for joining us and tuning in today. And we will see you all again real soon. Take care, everyone.
Avaya has changed my life.
Avaya has made me the woman I am today.
Avaya is my home.
Avaya is personal freedom.
Avaya is the reason my life continuously improves.
Let everyone in your life know about Avaya.
Everyone needs to know about this amazing company.
Thank you, Avaya, for appearing in my inbox.
What Ike Allen and Andy Anderson have created at Avaya is what the world needs.